There was a time when the smallest things could make you happy. A song you loved, a walk outside, a conversation that lasted too long, a meal you were looking forward to. Even doing absolutely nothing could feel peaceful. But now, somehow, things feel different. You watched a movie you were excited about, and 10 minutes later, you're checking your phone. You buy something you wanted for weeks, and the excitement disappears almost immediately. You meet your friends, laugh, talk, come home, and somehow still feel empty. And eventually, you start wondering, what happened to me? Why don't I enjoy things like I used to? Welcome to Sera Philosophy, a space for exploring calmness, meaning happiness, and the deeper questions behind everyday life. And maybe the problem isn't that you've forgotten how to enjoy life. Maybe you simply trained yourself to expect too much stimulation from it. Think about how you experience an ordinary moment now. You're eating, but you're watching something. You're watching something, but you're checking messages. You're walking, but you're listening to something. You're waiting, but you're scrolling. Even when nothing is happening, you immediately reach for something to fill the silence. Your mind rarely gets to experience one thing at a time. And this changes something important. You stop experiencing moments. You start consuming them. There's a difference. When you sit quietly with a cup of tea, you might once have noticed its warmth, its smell, the sound around you, the simple feeling of being there. But if your mind has become accustomed to constant stimulation, that same cup of tea can suddenly feel boring. Not because the tea changed, because your attention changed. You have become used to intensity. And ordinary life is not intense. Ordinary life is subtle. A sunset doesn't send you a notification. A quiet conversation doesn't give you points. A walk doesn't constantly reward you. A book doesn't demand your attention every 5 seconds. Real life often whispers, but you've trained your mind to listen for alarms. This is one reason modern life can create a strange paradox. You can have more entertainment than any generation before you and still feel bored. More information, but less curiosity. More communication, but less connection. More convenience, but less satisfaction. You can constantly be doing something and still feel like you're experiencing nothing. The ancient philosophers understood something about this. The Stoics often encourage people to pay attention to what is actually in front of them rather than endlessly chasing what might come next. And Buddhist philosophy goes even deeper. It teaches you to observe craving itself. Because sometimes you aren't unhappy because you lack something. You're unhappy because your mind has learned to constantly want the next thing, the next video, the next purchase, the next achievement, the next message, the next weekend, the next version of your life. And every time you reach it, your mind immediately moves a finish line. So you never arrive. You just keep chasing. And this is where something important happens. You begin confusing pleasure with happiness. Pleasure says, "Give me more." Happiness can say, "This is enough." Pleasure wants another episode. Happiness can enjoy the one you're watching. Pleasure wants another notification. Happiness can sit in silence. Pleasure asks, "What's next?" Presence asks, "What's here?" Maybe you don't need a more exciting life. Maybe you need to become more capable of noticing the life you already have. Try something simple. The next time you eat, eat without watching anything. The next time you walk, leave your phone alone for a few minutes. The next time you're having a conversation, don't think about what you're going to say next. Actually listen. And when you're bored, don't immediately escape. Stay there for a little while. Because boredom isn't always the enemy. Sometimes boredom is the doorway back to attention. When you stop constantly feeding your mind with stimulation, ordinary things can slowly become interesting again. You begin noticing the sound of rain, the feeling of sunlight through a window, the taste of food, the expression on someone's face when they're telling you a story, the strange peace of sitting alone without needing to be entertained. Nothing extraordinary has happened, but your ability to experience ordinary things has returned. And perhaps that's what you've been missing. Not excitement, not another achievement, not another purchase. Attention. Your life doesn't necessarily need more. It may need less noise, less rushing, less comparison, less consumption, less constantly asking, what can make me feel good next? Because sometimes happiness isn't something you find by adding another thing to your life. Sometimes it appears when you finally stop drowning out the things that were already there. So if things don't feel as enjoyable as they used to, don't immediately assume something is wrong with you. Pause. Look at how you spend your attention. Look at how often you escape silence. Look at how often you reach for stimulation the moment something becomes ordinary. And then ask yourself one simple question. Can you sit with this moment without needing it to become something more? Because maybe the secret to enjoying life again isn't finding better experiences. Maybe it's learning how to fully experience the simple ones. If this thought connected with something you've been feeling lately, take a moment to like this video and leave a comment with one simple thing you want to slow down and enjoy again. And if you want more quiet reflections on philosophy, happiness, meaning, and living with greater awareness, subscribe to Sera Philosophy. Come back whenever you need a little less noise and a little more perspective